Of Mr. Mum's World Speaks, where we get to talk about food, family, friends, fun, and fur, two-legged and four-legged, and in any order, we don't care. I think you're going to really enjoy today's show. It is a longtime friend of mine joining me today, Rhonda Doram, and Rhonda is the owner of HoneyDo, I want to say services, but there's probably a more technical name to that. What is that, Rhonda?
It's HoneyDo Lifestyle Assistant.
Perfect. So let's just get into it, because you and I talk all the time. Both of us are gabbers, so this is going to be, a very full show. I guess, why don't we just start with what your company does?
So thank you. And I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. This is exciting. What HoneyDo is, we provide grandma-approved services for seniors in the South Fraser community. Everything from companionship to full care aid services, everything in between, to keep seniors living safely and successfully in their own home or wherever they call home.
So what does that? Listen. We're living in some pretty crappy times. What does that look like right now?
It looks like, a 50-50 split, pretty much. We continued on through this whole challenging and uncertain time. It was a surprise for everyone, including us.
Yep.
But we're very proud to say that we were able to continue. We're considered an essential service and continued on with our more complex clients. We were in every long-term care facility in South Fraser primarily, and we obviously, that's not happening these days.
Sure.
But at the same time, there are lots of people that are not able to get into a care facility now and are at home and need support, and families that need support in supporting their loved ones. And that's where we come in. So what are some of the things that you do? I mean, listen, okay, so HoneyDo to me sounds like a gay man's dream, where I can find some butch, hunky, hairy beast with muscles coming out his and he's going to come and take care of me. But it isn't that. And it's to help our seniors. And what services do you actually offer? So everything from companionship to full care aid services. So that means it can be as simple as watching television together, reading, going for walks, doing prescribed exercises or routines. It can be laundry, meal prep, errands, going to doctor's appointments, supporting the families for respite, the families that are, providing care 24 hours a day, and they'd like to have a day off to go for lunch with their girlfriends. It's everything in between. It's correspondence. It's writing Christmas cards. It's spending time. It's human connection. So do you look at it more of a concierge? Because do you bathe them? Yes,
do you help?
Yes.
Oh, you do. Oh,
yes, we do.
It's that intense. Okay.
Yes, that's the care aid portion.
Right.
So it goes all the way up to complex care, which can be med reminders, memory care, bathing, personal hygiene, dressing, rising, going to bed.
So post surgeries, looking after them, helping them through those situations.
It can be. We provide only non-medical services.
Right.
So if there are post-operative medical procedures that need to be followed, that's usually in conjunction with the health authority where they live.
Right.
Or it's an authority with, some other private care that they might have. And we do that often. We collaborate with the various services that are needed for the client's well-being overall.
Right. I'm thinking more of like, they come in and bathe them and, not necessarily looking after, say, changing dressings and stuff like that, but they still need bathed. They still need that companionship, as you said, maybe meal preparation, those types of things.
Absolutely. And for the health authorities, their mandate is to look after the medical portion. So that's where they have a limited service of what they can provide. So there's a bridge or a gap where we're the bridge,
right,
between independence and needing some minor to intermediate supports to stay independent,
right,
leading all the way up to full care aid services for those whose needs have changed along the journey that we've been with them,
right,
or for those who are on a wait list, because the wait
right,
list, as we know, are long. And now it's very, I think the idea of putting someone into long-term care has really come to light that, wow, they're putting the brakes on.
right.
And I understand that. I've heard it 1,000 times since this has all happened.
Right.
It's been a journey for sure.
For sure. Oh, I cannot even begin to imagine. I'll tell you a quick story. My mom, you might already know this. My mom just rang her bell and is cancer free. But for us, the worry was, oh my God, with all this going on, how do we keep her locked up? Really, because we wanted to keep her safe, right? And so I can't imagine some of these families. More importantly, or equally important, I can't imagine families or people that are alone, and specifically in these times. Have you noticed in your clientele base? Have you noticed a increase of mental health issues?
Loneliness,
right?
For sure, loneliness. And that is statistically more deadly to seniors.
Oh, for sure,
than almost anything else other than a major medical event that happens.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot more anxiety for sure. There's
right.
a lot more uncertainty. There's a lot more questions, and so there should be from the families, of course. I welcome that. I always look at a question as an opportunity. And if they're not asking questions, they should be.
Yeah. And if they're not asking questions, you're wondering, why the hell aren't you?
Right. Right. And I always start a conversation by, what do you think you need? How do you think we can help? And here's our FAQ that will inform you and probably form some other questions that you might have that it doesn't quite meet exactly what you thought it might, or what your expectations are. A lot of folks aren't sure exactly what they can ask, because they're thrust into a situation because an actual event has happened, which is the majority of when we see people.
Right.
Something happens. There's a medical event. Someone loses their driver's license, a spouse passes away. All of those things happen, and then we're involved.
Right.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, so how long have you been in business? Like, when did you start the HoneyDo?
2008. So
wow.
I
started. We've known each other a long time.
A long time.
You're old and I clearly am not.
Well, only my hairdresser knows for sure.
Right. So what was the driving force, if you will, for starting HoneyDo? Like, what was the passion? Well,
I've always had a nurturing personality. I've always been that way naturally, and I was very close to my grandmother, and she is the inspiration for the entire thing, to be honest. When right after my grandfather retired, he passed away almost immediately.
Oh, wow.
And so she was a widow, and very lonesome. They were an inseparable twosome. We called them the lovebirds because they were always together, doing everything together. And now she was, cut in half. When she started to need more care, it and she lived in a smaller town, not here locally, but in a smaller community and back then also, there weren't as many services outside of what health authority or the community health system could provide. And it was an eye-opening experience when I started to see what wasn't available for her so that she could stay independent. She wanted to live at home until her last days, and we wanted to make that happen for her, and just weren't quite sure that there were things we could put into place that would enable that for her. Right. So I got involved, and pretty soon I was providing some of those things for her. I was organizing some of those things and trying to figure out why can't we do that? Why can't somebody do this portion and this portion? Why does it have to be 3 different people coming on the same day? That doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. And naively, I thought I was going to be helping my grandmother in the evenings and on weekends, and I was going to organize everything. And then she told her neighbors, and then we moved to South Delta, and our neighbors were elderly, and I was naturally saying, hey, I can help you out with a few of the things you need. Oh, I'll take your garbage to the curb, et cetera, et cetera. And then they told their friends, and then they told their neighbors, and pretty soon I was helping 12 people and working full time. And I thought I can't sustain this for very long. Getting home at 10 and up at 5 is just not going to work 7 days a week. It's just not. And HoneyDo was born. And I'm so blessed. It has been my calling my whole life. Only I took a different path to get here. Right. And it's like the stars aligned when I decided I was going to go full charge forward with it. It aligned with who I am as a human, and like, what better job is there when you don't have a job, when it's what you're passionate about. Yeah. You know this.
Oh, absolutely. So there's a couple things. The portion of let's say I'm an elderly person. I'm living on my own. I can't fix my door. Mm-hmm. Do you play a role in that kind of stuff as well?
We absolutely can. Sometimes it's a simple fix. Sometimes our staff themselves can figure it out because we're simple. Yeah. We're humans. We have households. That's what we're doing. We're helping you manage your household. And in other cases, when it's outside of our scope or outside of anybody's experience or expertise to do such a thing, we have pre-vetted local trades, and that can be the housekeeping, that can be the person that fixes the door, that can come in and do foot care, that can come in and cut your hair at home, that, come in a contractor that can convert your bathroom so that you can use a walker to get in and have a walk-in shower instead of a tub. All of those things we can actively participate to help them achieve.
I was going to say, so then you can sort of act, if you will, as a project manager or a house manager.
Sometimes they hire the person that they feel is best. Sure. We pre-vet the people for sure. We call them our alliance partnerships, as you would be with us. Absolutely. and your small meals that you provide for seniors. Yeah. The same. Anytime a senior is looking for really small portions, because even some of the meal programs that are out there, it's too much for one. They will divide it into 2 or 3. Absolutely. So having the little portions is terrific, and having something that that's home cooking and comfort food that comes from their era versus soup and a sandwich, which is great. I mean, they all serve their purpose.
Has a place,
right? It all has their place, but there's something about that. respecting where they come from and who they are as a person, and
Yeah, I think so. So for me, my biggest concern of say someone living on their own, a widower, would be, and the reason I ask you about the project management piece of it would be someone coming in. There's so many scams directed at our elderly, from home repairs to home. You know what I mean? And so having someone such as your service kind of being that, and I'm glad you used the word partners and vetted, having someone there to kind of say, hey, you know, okay, maybe here's some things you want to look at, or maybe you want to get some different references or those kinds of things. The seniors are way too trusting in most cases. They just want to get the job done. They realize they can't do the job. And so I'm glad to hear that. And so I guess my question in all of that would be, is that something that you guide them on? You know, I realize you don't make the final choice, but it's something that,
Yes, and that's why we've pre-vetted them. So the person that we would be our first call for mobile hairdressing, I tried her. The foot nurse I've tried. The electrician I've tried. The contractor I've tried. Like I've had them come and do things for me without them knowing, and to see how they are. How do you treat people? What is your contract like? You know, is everything transparent? How's your bedside manner, so to speak?
Yeah.
You know, all of those things, because if I am saying this is someone that you can trust, you're an extension of us. So our clients deserve to be treated like we would treat them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about,
you know,
so I was just going to say, so what about the you have someone that's alone, not too much family around. You start to say, maybe notice dementia, Alzheimer's. How do you approach that possibly with them and or family of theirs? And again, further to that, the medical team that you may be involved with, because it must be very hard to, in some instances, to watch that happen right before your very eyes, really, if they're long-term clients, right?
And it does happen. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's little things that you notice. Part of what makes us unique and how we deliver our services is that we are a small but mighty team. We have we don't call them staff, we call them assistants.
Right.
They work in either pairs or in small teams that have constant contact throughout the day and from day to day. So there's consistency of care, and there's a support network there. So if they notice changes, someone could say, hey, you know, that happened to me last week too. And so then we can sometimes we see patterns sooner than a family member or someone who visits infrequently, or even the health authority, because usually that is for a specific appointment purpose when they're going to those, you know, to a doctor's appointment or those kinds of things. So there's, and sometimes, like I say, sometimes it's subtle and sometimes it's dramatic. Sometimes it's a very almost overnight change. Something can happen. Sure. So informing the family, having that discussion is, you know, it's not an easy conversation. Sometimes it's difficult for people to understand or to accept. You know, that's your mom, and if your mom doesn't remember that you're her daughter, it's a very complicated situation. But you need to approach that with sensitivity and compassion and kindness for everybody. Try to be neutral, and you know, these are the facts, and there are things that you can do. You can. I would say if that, besides having that conversation with the family, sometimes the clients will even bring it up. They'll say, "I think I'm losing my mind," and I say, "Oh, why do you think that?" To see what their perception is.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you know, I can't remember things. Well, we all forget things.
Right.
We all forget things. So I said, I forget things from day to day too. Yeah. And, you know, it's a natural thing for the human computer to not always process perfectly every day. But that's something to note, because if they notice that, and there's something in their pattern that is not in sync, and they know it too. And having the conversation with the family is the initial start. If they don't have family, we can reach out to the health authority. Anybody can, as a matter of fact. You can reach out to the community health and report that you think somebody is in jeopardy.
And I think, isn't it our obligation? I think, I want to use the word as a caregiver of community. As you know, I've worked in the fostering world forever,
For a long time.
and we have a duty to report for our children, right? And so I always like to think that as a caring member of community, if I noticed one of my other members of community not doing well, I would want someone to know.
100%. 100%. And it doesn't always mean that it's the beginning of an end.
Yeah.
It might be that there just needs to be other things put in place so that they can continue to be successful and safe, doing all the things that they can still continue to do.
Sure.
And still have reminders or have specific appointments that help support their overall memory care, or getting a network or, raised by the village system in place that helps keep them safe and supportive. There's lots of ways that can be a very positive move, steps forward in that situation. And we can definitely help with the stepping stones with that. It's complicated for families when it becomes a sudden awareness for them and they're not quite sure what to do, how to do it, who to talk to, what's the first best step. And we can help guide them from our experience and from even though we are close to all of our clients, we treat them like they're our family. We are one step
away.
So we can sometimes bring a little objectivity and a little bit of calm and reassurance to the situation.
Sure. Do you find that your clients and potentially, I guess, their families, do you ever find that they want to talk about death? My mother and I have this most bizarrest relationship in the sense that we've always talked about death, and we are both, I don't know about the reality if it happened, what I'll be like, probably one big marshmallow. But we've had a very realistic approach to death. Yeah. Do you find your clients want to talk about the end, or moving on, or however we want to term that? And at that point, do you say, okay, maybe we should get families involved?
Well, like you, there's a variety. It can be cultural that you don't speak about it. Very much Western culture. We don't talk about that.
Right.
That is
taboo.
We don't. That's too uncomfortable. We're not supposed to talk about those things.
Right.
Sometimes they want to talk about it. Sometimes they will in a roundabout way. They will ask, do you have a will? They will ask me, do you have a will? Yes, I do. Do you need help with something? Do you have a will? I will ask. And they say, well, I'm not quite sure how to do that. And, well, I am sure we can figure out a way that can happen.
Right.
I'm happy to say majority of the people that I deal with have a power of attorney in place, or that come into place during our service there.
Yeah.
And there are times, we've been with clients right from them being fully independent in their own home and becoming a palliative care client in their own home.
Right.
So in those days, they do want to talk about it. A lot of them, they do, and sometimes they confide in their frontline caregiver things that they don't necessarily confide in their families, not because of any reason other than they love them. They're trying to protect them. It's a little easier to tell somebody that isn't your family some of the things that you need to unburden sometimes.
Yeah.
And, I think just being human with someone and understanding that, it's okay to talk about this stuff.
Right.
It's scary. I get it. Yeah, it's upsetting. Yeah, this is not a fun journey for everybody. I get that. And it's anything that we can do, not only as a human, but as a caregiver, and providing service like we do to help them move forward and help them find a way to navigate through some of these difficult chapters.
Sure.
And I feel that's part of our role. I feel that that's, like you said, it's part of our duty to try to assist however we can, whatever that looks like for them.
So what does and again, hate to kind of bring the topic around money, but what does that look like? Is any portion of your fee chargeable to the government as a caregiver in sorts, like part of their health plan? Are you referred to by, say, the health industry, and I say, possibly doctors or counselors or anything like that, and then is that then portion paid for by the healthcare system? What does that look like as far as a senior? Because let's face facts, seniors aren't rolling in the bucks, or very few of them. So you pay an additional service on the very little limited funding that they do have, right? So what does that look like? Sorry.
So that's okay. Very mindful of incomes and needs. We are private pay.
Right.
We're there. So it is an additional fee. There are some programs that are available. So Veterans Affairs, we are an approved vendor for Veterans Affairs. So if you are a veteran, we can submit all the claims directly for you. You don't have to do anything. We do it all.
Lovely.
There are parts of our services that if it's deemed an essential for you to for your daily living, that you can write that off against taxes. But as far as us contributing or portions of it being contributed to government funding, there are programs out there. They would have to apply for those privately or have their families apply for that, or their POA or trustees.
Sure.
We do a lot of work with trustees and notaries and those kinds of things too for people who don't have family. We provide some services for PG&T, which is guardian and trustee, prevent for the province. It's like you said, it's all about the giving back.
Right.
We try to give them that information and connect them with a financial person that can help guide them through that.
Yeah.
And it's a complicated system.
I was just going to say, you're caught between your heart of wanting to do what's right, but the reality is you as a company need to make money. Your assistants need to make money, and sometimes that I find sometimes talking about money is worse than talking about death. You know what I mean? Because it's just one of those topics like, hey, I'm sorry, I tried to do some, I know we're more like friends, but now you owe me some money, and you know what I mean? So yeah.
I get that. And that's where the mindful of the incomes comes in.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about, hey, we have 2 hours and this is exactly what we have to do. We're going to start at 9 and end at 11 and that's the end of it.
Yeah. If
there's still 15 minutes left of something that needs to be done, our staff are going to stay and do that. And you're not going to be billed for that necessarily.
Right. Yeah.
Or you need something extra. It's not uncommon that we're going to nip out to pick up something for you because that's something that you need. It's not uncommon that our staff will be sharing homemade recipes and baking and cooking together. And, it's a little more restrictive these days. We're a lot more, mindful with all this crazy times we're going through, and we will get through it. We will get through this.
Yeah. Do you find the fear in them, the elderly? Do you find that there's a big fear? Do you find it's like, what, here's my mother's feeling. Listen, I've lived a good life. What the hell? If I go, I go. Let me go shopping, right?
The full spectrum. Full spectrum.
Yeah.
We have some that have pulled back from our service, and we haven't seen them since March.
Right.
That they've either enlisted their neighbors, or their family has moved in, or the family has moved them to their homes, and it's all about a comfort level.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. But we do have all the safety protocols in place. We follow all the provincial mandates. We've even added things in that are over and above what that is.
Right.
Because lessening all the points of contact that you can even conceive of that's our job. Our job is to keep you safe, and our job is to keep our staff safe too.
Sure.
So, all the mandatory things are there, as are most, and we're an essential service. So it's three times what a normal, COVID plan might be. And I will say everyone has stayed safe and healthy and well. And, that speaks to what the protocols are that we have in place and that we've been adhering to.
Absolutely. So how do people get a hold of you? Like I mean, whether I'm a senior or whether I'm a family member, how do we get a hold of you?
You can certainly call our office, which is 604-809-7605. Okay. You can visit our email at www.honeydolifestyle.com. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. We're everywhere.
You're everywhere. So if in parting, and because our time went quick.
Yeah, sure did.
Tell me words of wisdom that you would want to impart to someone's family.
Ask the questions. Don't be afraid to be the squeaky wheel. Don't be afraid to take someone by the hand and say, I don't know how to do this either, but we're going to figure this out.
Right.
Let's start. Let's ask someone. Let's, talk to your doctor about these things. Talk to your family about these things. Let them know that you want to stay in your home for as long as you can, and start thinking about what that will look like. And I guarantee you it's a little bit more complex than what you think it's going to be, but it's possible. Right. It is possible. And there's ways to do it where it's kind and compassionate, where it feels comfortable, where you're safe. I am so proud that my grandma got to stay in her home until her last day. And I know that there's lots of folks out there that want that same thing. So sure. My wisdom would be there is a way. The traditional format of what that used to look like isn't necessarily what's going to work for you, and it doesn't have to be that. So there are options out there. Just don't let the norms tell you that it has to follow this chain in order for you to achieve that. That's
awesome. I want to thank you so much. I love you. I adore you. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us about your business. I personally think this is never mind an essential service, but certainly one of the things that all seniors should have available to them as they grow older and want to spend that time in their home to possibly die there and to be in a place where they're most comfortable. Thank you so much. I realize now your passion, and I'm a little wiser. I hope our two listeners are going to be as well. And
I hope so too.
Right. I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Great. I look forward to that too. Thanks again. What a wonderful interview. It was great to be able to share from the heart with a friend.
Cool. We'll talk to you soon. Love you lots.